Hello there, I'm Nafisa Latic and this is Across the Balkans. This week we look at Montenegro's $1 billion highway. After 3 years of delays, the first section of the Bar-Boljare highway has now opened. But the project, once hailed by China as a landmark deal within its Belt and Road Initiative, now faces lingering questions about its possible effects on the economy, environment, and its profitability. The previous Montenegrin government signed a contract with the China Road and Bridge Corporation back in 2014 to build the highway and initially borrowed nearly $1 billion from Beijing. In 2021, the country's finance ministry reached a deal with Western banks to convert the Chinese loan to euros to try and cut its interest rate. Despite failing several feasibility studies, the project was signed by then Prime Minister Milo Đukanovic's government to boost the economy. But many say it has instead deepened the national debt. Mirjana Miladinović has more from Podgorica.
7 years of hard work capped off with a symbolic push of a button. Montenegro's top officials gathered with the representative from the Chinese embassy to open the first section of their so-called Highway of Friendship. Named after Montenegro's Princess Ksenia, the country's first female driver, the expressway will connect Montenegro with not just the rest of the region, but also Europe.
Crna Gora će se sa lukom Bar biti jedan od važnih pravaca u tranzitnim saobraćajnim tokovima Balkana.
The government has hailed the project as a turning point in the country's development.
Prva dionica autoputa, iako za nekoga može, iako iznosi cirka 42 km, neko će reći i nije za pohvalu, ali se radi o istorijskom projektu i Crna Gora je dobila prve kilometre autoputa i imao sam privilegiju da budem jedan od onih, eto da kažem, koji je otvorio tu prvu dionicu puta.
But critics have questioned why it took 7 years and 4 governments to complete this milestone. Some NGOs have alleged the delays were caused by corruption and poor construction.
Mi još uvijek nemamo informaciju o tome koliko je tačno materijala, razne vrste ugrađeno u autoput i koliko je sve to koštalo. Ono što znamo jeste da je originalna cijena bila 800 miliona eura, koja je značajno uvećana.
Ivan Brajović, who was the minister in charge of finalizing the highway's designs and contract, has defended his actions.
Moram da kažem da sam veoma ponosan na svoj doprinos u osmišljavanju, u ugovaranju i za sam početak realizacije tog projekta.
While the first section is now open, many complain the road is still far from linking Montenegro with Serbia as promised, which has earned it a nickname, a highway to nowhere. Design oversights were also quickly discovered. There are no gas stations or restaurants along the route. Access points connecting the highway to the rest of Montenegro's roads are still incomplete, leading to long lines of cars. And due to the steep altitude changes, several vehicles caught fire in the first week of operations.
Put je trebalo da bude završen u maju 2019. On je otvoren u julu 2022. i kao što rekoh nije završen. Činjenica je da danas kada je autoput otvoren vi opet imate kilometar i po dva puta koji se radi trenutno, koji također košta par miliona eura i plus još 10 kilometara regionalnog puta do Kolašina koji je značajno dotrajao i kojem će biti neophodna rekonstrukcija prije ili kasnije, ja se nadam prije, jer zaista je neuslovan taj put. Mi nemamo apsolutno nikakvu projekciju oko toga koji će biti promet saobraćaja, koliki promet saobraćaja se očekuje, koji će biti prihodi, koji će biti rashodi.
But officials insist that despite the setbacks, having a modern road system will be worth it.
I onu noć kad sam otvarao autoput, prvu dionicu autoputa sam rekao, ako ovaj autoput spasi jedan ljudski život, on je opravdao i sav novac i ovolike godine čekanja. Sa druge strane, ako ovaj autoput ne bude, ova dionica ne bude nastavljena, onda nismo završili priču uspješno.
And economic analysts are optimistic that even those first 40 kilometers will pay off fast.
Bez razvijene infrastrukture nema razvijene zemlje, nema razvijenog društva. Ako vi u informatičkoj eri, kažem, ako vam treba da sa jedne tačke A do tačke B potrošite 3 ili 4 sata da dođete, a pritom možete za 3 ili 4 sata doći iz najudaljenijih krajeva evropskog kontinenta do u Podgoricu, onda te činjenice same dovoljno govore za sebe. Naravno da uvijek se moglo bolje i naravno da je vjerovatno je moglo i jeftinije, ali je isto tako i vrlo značajno i ne treba smetnuti s uma to da ako Crna Gora ne bude razvijala putnu i telekomunikacijonu infrastrukturu, onda ne možemo govoriti ni o kakvom, ni regionalnom usklađenju, ni o održivom budućem društveno-ekonomskom razvoju.
While the highway could be valuable in the future, Montenegro put itself into a deep financial hole to build it. The government owes almost $1 billion to China, which provided a loan to construct the motorway. Even though this 40-kilometer-long highway is the most important project in Montenegro's young history, many say its $1 billion price tag. It's far too much.
Kina jeste imala slične projekte u okviru Belt and Road inicijative gdje je u državama slabog ekonomskog razvoja pomagala pomoću zajmova, pa kasnije praktično konfiskovala određene resurse koji su gradili, aerodrom ili luke. Šta će se desiti sada za pola godine ili godinu ili dvije, teško je govoriti, naročito u kontekstu dešavanja u svijetu.
Montenegrin officials say any fears of the country falling under China's influence are overblown.
Veliki je projekat bio izgradnje prve dionice autoputa i naravno i taj kredit je vrlo ozbiljan, ali vjerujem da ćemo uspjeti prije svega da uz jednu dobru ekonomsku politiku, fiskalnu politiku, obezbijedimo sredstva vraćanja ovog kredita. Sa druge strane, još jednom ponavljam, ima načina i da se izvrši na neki drugi način da se zamijeni ovaj kredit. Tako da mogu reći sigurno što se tiče, eto da kažem, da idem tragom vašeg pitanja, da ne treba da brinemo da bi Crna Gora, da bi Kina mogla na neki način da uslovi zbog kredita, čak i politički, ne samo ekonomski kurs Crne Gore. Što se tiče toga, vrlo sam, da ne kažem, relaksiran, ali sigurno vjerujem da vlada ima mehanizme da se zaštiti kako ne bi bila zavisna od ovog kredita. Ono što je glavno da kažem da ove projekti će se raditi iz evropskih fondova.
Beyond the technical and financial issues, authorities say traffic flows have also been slowed by Montenegrin drivers, unaccustomed to highway etiquette. There have been reports of vehicles stopping in the slow lane to rest or for smoking breaks. Some have also stopped in the middle of the highway to make social media videos. It's hoped this first stretch of highway will help Montenegrins get used to the rules of the road by the time the second section is ready. According to initial estimates, construction on that 20-kilometer project will cost more than $500 million. And how long that will take to finish is still anyone's guess. Mirjana Miladinović, TRT World, Podgorica, Montenegro.
My guest today is Stefan Vladisavljev. He is the program coordinator at Belgrade Fund for Political Excellence. He specializes in foreign influences in the Western Balkans with a special focus on the rising Chinese influence in the region. Stefan, great to have you with us on Across the Balkans. Now, what is the future of Montenegro's $1 billion highway? Will we see this road ever fully built and functioning?
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for such an important question. Well, we are speaking actually about 1 billion section of a highway because it is only a 42 kilometers portion connecting two cities from Smokovac to Mateševo. So it is not the end result which Montenegrin people and Montenegrin government is hoping to achieve, which would connect Serbian border on the north with the Montenegrin seaside on the south. And with that in mind, that 1 billion after the whole highway is constructed could be actually just a small figure in the total total value. So the future remains uncertain, especially if we have in mind that the Chinese loan, which has been provided for the construction of the 42-kilometer section, has been quite burdening the Montenegrin financial system as well, Montenegrin budget and Montenegrin debt. So we are expecting a much more cautious approach in the next phases of planning the remaining sections, which would bring us the final product, a complete highway that would connect north and south.
And any idea on how the rest of the road will be actually financed?
There are only speculations at the moment. I would be surprised to see that there is a new arrangement of sorts with the Chinese. I think that the Montenegrin government, if it remains in power long enough, will look for another alternative. We have already seen that there were attempts to reach out to the Europeans, first and foremost, for the additional financing for the remaining of the highway. But that was the situation pre-2014 as well. China was not the first partner offered a partnership in construction of the 42-kilometer section. So it remains a question whether there will be enough reasoning on the other side, European, for example, for the partnership and financial help in construction of remaining sections of the highway.
And what went wrong with the Chinese loan? Why has it taken 7 years to complete only, as you were saying, 42 kilometers?
Nafisa, that is such an important question, and we have to put that in context. First and foremost, there have been delays. No one really wanted to have 7 years of construction of that highway. That highway was supposed to be done in 5 years and to be operative by then. But due to the different unfortunate situations, it has been prolonged. The last of it is certainly the COVID-19 pandemic. But even before that, the Chinese asked for additional financing because it looks like the original project did not include all the components. There was also a trial, actually, a file suit against the Chinese for the endangering of the Tara River, environmental concerns raised by the activists in China. So we had a lot of impact that have been objective impact and caused delays in the finalization of the project, which has brought
Stefan,
significant...
what does China get from this project? Having a small country like Montenegro trapped in an almost $1 billion loan?
There is a quite clear situation where we have a Chinese presence increasing in a small country, which is not only a situation that has happened in Montenegro, where you have a strategical advantage and you gain leverage over the government of such a country, which means that you potentially could have questions and requests regarding, and that is a letter of contract, state-owned land. Basically, if Montenegro was not able to repay the debt, and maybe it will not be able to repay it in the future, China can step in and literally ask for a piece of land, including a seaside land, which is actually a quite important resource for the Montenegro.
Right. Meanwhile, neighboring Serbia's relations with China are also entering a new phase. You wrote several articles about that topic. Just a couple of weeks ago, we saw the first direct flight from Beijing to Belgrade since the pandemic started. And they've also signed several bilateral agreements. What does this mean for Serbia's future ties with China? Is this benefiting Serbia?
Serbia is outliner when it comes to the Chinese presence in the region. And a comprehensive strategic partnership is a term being used to describe partnership between two countries. Direct flight and the announcements of the free trade agreement between two countries are a showcase that there will be additional development in the bilateral cooperation between two countries. It can come with a suggestion that Serbia is trying to mitigate the impact of the uncertain European integration process and that it is trying to find partners in the other parts of the world. But it is certainly something that has been utilized by the Serbian government quite heavily, and it has brought a lot of popularity to the Chinese government among Serbian people because China has become one of the most important and one of the most popular partners for the government of Serbia. Basically, when it comes to the popularity, it is on par with Russia, which has been seen as a traditionally positive and beneficial partner for Serbia over the decades, if not centuries.
Seems like China is gaining more and more popularity in the region. What does it mean for the geopolitics of the region, having in mind the war in Ukraine and everything we've witnessed in the last couple of months?
The region can find itself in quite a trouble if it comes to the final decision, which side are we taking. I think that some countries are more clear on that than the others. We have quite dedicated North Macedonia, Albania, and Montenegro as the countries that have clear European path towards the European Union with clear idea and clear intentions to do anything that is required from them to join. On the other side, countries like Serbia or Bosnia and Herzegovina are facing also a quite significant number of internal struggles, and Kosovo has a quite specific status in all of that. Which means that if Serbia as an outliner finds itself on a crossroad in choosing between West and the East, if there is no clear dedication to one or the other, and there is an open conflict rising between two sides, the choice will become more and more harder to make, which will not only bring additional burden to the Serbian government, but will also bring additional burden to the Serbian people who can face direct consequences of that multi-vector foreign policy implemented by the Serbian government.
Stefan, thank you for being our guest. Now I understand your nickname in the region, that China guy, because you're definitely an expert on the topic. Great to have you with us. Albania and North Macedonia have finally opened negotiations with the EU. North Macedonia's parliament approved a French proposal that aims to unblock its bid to join the Union. Last month, the EU's French presidency laid out mutual concessions to resolve differences between Skopje and Sofia over language, history, and the rights of ethnic Bulgarians in North Macedonia. Bulgaria has been blocking North Macedonia's efforts to join the EU, but it earlier accepted the proposal that may allow it to lift its veto. The parliament session ended with clear directions to Skopje on what to negotiate during the EU accession process, such as unconditional respect to the identity, language, cultural and historical characteristics of the people of North Macedonia. The deal would also unblock negotiations for neighboring Albania. Meanwhile, thousands of people took to the streets in Skopje and massed outside government offices, demanding the rejection of the French proposal, saying it concedes too much to Bulgaria. While North Macedonia's government says the proposal is a solid base, the main opposition center-right party has rejected it, arguing it favors Bulgarian demands that dispute North Macedonian history, language, identity, and culture. As I were mentioning, after 17 years of waiting, North Macedonia has taken a step forward to join the EU. To get more on this, I'm joined by Ilhan Kyuchuk from Sofia. He's a European Parliament rapporteur for North Macedonia and a member of the European Parliament from the Renew Europe group. Ilhan, great to have you with us. Listen, not many in Skopje are happy with the Parliament's decision to accept the French proposal. We've seen protests there. Why is that?
Well, because it's a controversial issue for both sides, and history was taken so much of the political energy here in Sofia, but also in Skopje. But my message was always clear. Of course, we have to think about historical reconciliation and the way to go forward as two separate nations. But also, we have to think about how important it is to be in a club where matters of freedom, where matters rule of law, fundamental rights. And I would like to see the two countries and the countries in the region competing not on nationalistic rhetoric, but more on who brings more prosperity, who brings more fundamental rights, who brings higher democratic standards based on rule of law.
Do you think this move will bring Skopje and Sofia relations to a next level, or it will be a step back?
Well, we had a historically speaking, the lowest level between the two countries. I see the relationship very important because it's based on our maturity. It's based on his historical debates, but also more important than that, it's based on how we can go further together as Bulgarians, but also as Macedonians. So if we can combine the effort, if we again and again think strategically, I think the strategic patience will pay off, and that's important for the region, because what is at stake, and I was reiterating many times, not solving the issue was woes for North Macedonia, was woes for Bulgaria, but I think the biggest loser was European Union, because enlargement is mainly about security challenges speaking nowadays.
So what's next for North Macedonia? Seems to me there's still a lot of work for Skopje. Does the country need to change its constitution and give constitutional rights to the Bulgarian minority? And is this likely to happen? Because in the parliament for this proposal, there's still not enough votes.
Well, the changing of the constitution and putting Bulgarians, Croats, and Montenegrins in the preamble of the constitution of North Macedonia is a precondition, and it is in the framework of the French proposal. And my advice to those still playing the nationalistic card in Skopje is to come together with the progressive forces, and they can debate many times in many hours the internal issues, be it on economy, be it on social issues, healthcare, and whatever. And those issues are completely fine with me, and they are important for the society of North Macedonia. When it comes to strategic priorities, like being part of NATO, and they achieved that, I'm proud to see North Macedonia part of NATO alliance. But when it comes to the second stage of the strategic priorities, speaking about European Union, the opposition and the government should come together, and together with the media and other important players in the society of North Macedonia. I remember how difficult was that process to Bulgaria, negotiating with European Commission, giving a lot from the so-called identity and sovereignty of Bulgaria, but that was a strategic choice. And I do believe that the only way to go forward is building relationship, strong relationship, based on good neighborly agreement between Bulgaria and North Macedonia, between Greece and North Macedonia, because the Prespa agreement have been delivering so far, and it's important we continue from there.
When North Macedonia changed its name back in 2018 to fulfill Greece's demands, many believed it would open Skopje's EU path, except it didn't. We both know that. Now it's no surprise that many believe it won't happen this time either. Are you optimistic? You've done several reports on North Macedonia's progress in the last couple of years. Can they make it happen this time?
The European Union will deliver to the citizens of North Macedonia, because this process is merit-based. It's based on rule of law, is based on fundamental values, and based on principles of the European Union. If the political establishment of North Macedonia is really keen on fulfilling the expectations on the benchmarks coming from European Commission, they will be part of the European Union. I do believe that as a rapporteur, I encourage them always to work together on the important points of my report and on the report of the European Commission.
How do you think the EU's enlargement policy will change in the wake of the war in Ukraine? Do you think the Brussels enlargement policies will change this time?
Well, the French methodology, the so-called French methodology, has changed dramatically the way of negotiation between the candidate countries and European Union. This methodology is much more transparent, dynamic, and vibrant towards the civil society of the Western Balkan countries. So I see the possibilities. I do believe that the sentence from the mouth of Jean-Claude Juncker that the enlargement will not happen for the next 5 years was a damaging point in our relationship between European Union and Western Balkans. But now I see the golden opportunity, another golden opportunity to open the chapter for a new and more dynamic relationship between EU and Western Balkans. And we need that delivery, not for the sake of historical debates or bilateral issues. We need that delivery for the sake of the younger generation of the region. Because you're also coming from the region, and you're aware that brain drain is huge. those young people with capacity and potential, they are leaving the Western Balkans and they are seeking, rightly so, for better opportunities in Western European countries. And I want them to stay or to come back after good education, after experiencing abroad, and to bring new democratic standards, high democratic standards, without nationalism, without ethnic cleansings, and to work for their own country. And that's important for EU.
Ilhan, great to have you on Across the Balkans. Ilhan Küçük, he is a European Parliament rapporteur for North Macedonia. Great to have your thoughts on Across the Balkans. Thanks for watching this episode. See you next time from me and the whole team here in Istanbul. Bye-bye for now.